Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori if you're new here, and today I am taking you throughout the week. This is Tori from the future, and I'm going to show you some of the meals that we made this week on our pantry challenge. I am not going to lie, it was a tough week for the grocery store. We just didn't have it in the budget to go. We did get a few staples in bulk the week before, and that lasted us through. So right now for the kids, I'm actually breaking into our prepper pantry stash for milk and things like that, but we didn't have any bread, so I'm going to show you how I make that from scratch, as well as some other meals throughout the week. I am so thankful that I do have my pantry set aside for emergencies like this, but I do want to show you some items that I keep on hand that I believe everyone can to make easy and filling meals that will last throughout the week. If you're new here, we would love it if you hit that subscribe button. We make videos 3 to 4 times a week all about life here in Northern Colorado. I like to show you how you can be prepared on a budget. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let's get right into these recipes. We are starting off our week with breakfast for dinner. We, of course, have our chickens, so we have access to fresh eggs every day. Lucky us. We can't wait for the ducks to start laying. I think that will be a very interesting add to our pantry. We keep ours out on the counter and I don't wash them, so to me they're shelf stable. You could definitely go different routes with your eggs and, lime bath them. If you wanted to, you could freeze dry them, but I believe eggs can be shelf stable if you treat them properly. So I'm just washing these, then washing my hands. I'm going to cook them up, and we are just making some eggs with toast, and then I have leftover scalloped potatoes from the other night that you saw me cooking, and I have some butter that I froze from the farm stand this summer. So it was questionable. I think I froze it properly. I think it was good to go. And then some of you got a kick out of this. I'm saying butt ends of cheeses, and we have so many of them because my husband likes different cheeses than I do. So I'm cutting some of that up, throwing some of that on the egg there, and we are gonna call it good. Next up is going to be my homemade bread. I used to make bread all different ways, but I've stuck with this recipe and it works for us in our elevation with our temperature. I believe there are so many different elements to homemade bread. You might have seen this on a short or a reel of mine recently, but you need about a packet of yeast. You need a little bit of honey, I'd say a teaspoon, and then a half a cup of warm water. You're going to stir that up and then just let it to combine for about 20 minutes, and then we will move on to our next step, which is adding some flour. I've added all sorts of flour to this and it works. My favorite is to add einkorn flour, but I like to save that. I have like a stash of ancient grains. That's a secret that I've never told anybody. I love ancient grains. It's like a collector's item for me just because I feel like they're some sort of antique in the food world. I don't know if that's strange, probably, but I'm pretty strange. Anyways, I added 2 cups of flour and then another half cup of warm water. And then my dough, I usually add another half cup of flour onto the space that I'm rolling it out. And then I'm just going to work it together. I knead it for 65 times. Yes, exactly 65. I'll let it rise for another hour and then I bake it. I forgot to say that first rise was about 4 hours. So this is a daily project. I am fortunate enough to be home this year and I have time to do things like this. And this is definitely something I was looking forward to. So I'm happy I have it. But alongside this bread, we are just making a simple pasta. So I have some rigatoni boiling up in some salted water here, and I'm going to take you over here. I have some yellow wax beans because I'm obsessed with them. The kids really like them too, and we put lemon pepper seasoning on top of those. And then I'm going to serve it with this sauce. I had some leftover roasted red pepper sauce, but we canned a bunch of vodka sauce this summer. I don't know if you remember that or if some of you were here for that, but I just took that right off my shelf here and I was ready to use it. All it really needs, in my opinion, is some Parmesan. So I made a note with those canned items to add something like that, something creamy. Didn't have to be Parmesan, but I added some grass-fed butter in there as well, and then just mixed that together until it was warm, and then I added my pasta back to the mixture on the stove, and this made so much, of course, because it's a box of pasta. My husband had some to take to work. We had some to eat on the next day, and I'm looking in my fridge right now. We still have a container to go, so I'm excited. This fed us plenty. We love pasta. I think it's a great budget staple pantry meal. That's a mouthful, but yay, so yummy. Here are the kids' plates. I had some beet, apple, and carrot applesauce in there. We got it on a closeout and they were in the prepper pantry. So I like to use that from time to time when I don't have any fruit on hand to give the kids. And they already had so many apples today. So they're getting some apple beet carrot sauce. Next on the list here was this amazing veggie grilled cheese with that homemade bread from the night before. You may have seen this on a YouTube short of mine. I like to share as many as I possibly can just because I know a lot of you don't have a lot of time and you like some short form content from time to time. But we have a sad looking bell pepper from the farm stand and 1 Macintosh apple left. We have some onion, and then I have a little bit of the Simple Truth cream cheese. I just wanted to use it up and get it out of the refrigerator. And then of course we have the bread itself. So what I'm doing is just cutting up this bell pepper here, and it was an heirloom, so I'm taking the seeds and drying them so I can use them in my garden this year. If you didn't know you can do that, it's pretty easy and it's a fun experiment. It's like you're buying, I don't know, a bunch of peppers just with 1 pepper. And then I have some onion here, and I'm going to saute this in some olive oil and some lemon pepper. I just really love that seasoning, so I've used it throughout the week here. And I've really been trying to watch my dried spices because I'm finding a lot of ingredients randomly in there that don't need to be. So this one was from Sprouts. I assembled the grilled cheeses, and I have some of the Organic Girl here 50-50 blend, and that dark syrup there is just some balsamic glaze. So I have some olive oil in there, and I'm just putting these sandwiches in there. My husband likes a pretty buttered bread, pretty saturated, so I put his right in the middle, and I put mine off to the side. Of course, he, could have used bacon on his or something, but it was satiating and so yummy. The homemade bread really makes it, but as you can see, it gets a little messy and crumbly. I like that rustic feel though, especially when it comes to a tasty grilled cheese. I forgot to mention that apple on there with the balsamic is just such a necessary ingredient for this grilled cheese. I really hope you try it. Next up is a soup. If you have been here for a while, you know with pantry challenges, I try and do a soup with everything we have left over in the fridge. This is kind of like the chili that I usually make, but we have bell pepper, onion, we have sweet potato, a little bit of that butter. I do have some canned items on hand, so I'm going to use those up. So we have Great Northern beans and then a small can of tomato sauce. And then I went through my grains like rice and bulgur wheat, quinoa, couscous, and we had a lot of quinoa, so I was trying to use that up. And then I made the exact same bread, but I made them into buns. And I thought they would be good with some butter or maybe some sort of sauce, which I will show you in a second here. I found a dip packet and I'm really excited because it was delicious and I totally forgot we even had it. But I just put everything in a stock pot. You can saute this if you want one by one, but I wanted to make this easiest as possible here. So I just rinsed my beans off, put everything in. The only addition that I didn't mention was just using some water, and I put about 2 cups of quinoa in here. No, I put 1 cup of quinoa in here, I'm sorry, to 2 cups of water, 2 cups of a liquid. That's how you cook quinoa if you did not know. And I put just a dash of liquid smoke, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and then I just did some lemon pepper, salt, and pepper. And I, believe it or not, don't have any garlic on hand, so I did not put any of that in there, but it would have been delicious in there. And I let it simmer for about an hour, and we were good to go. Of course, that quinoa soaks up a lot of that broth within the hour, so if you don't want that to happen, just take it off the stove in a half hour. My husband did end up going to Kroger and he found some $5 burgers. He found 6 of them for $5. So he browned up some of that and put this into the chili. You know, I talk about it all the time. He's a meat guy, so I feel like he needs it. I did add my secret teaspoon of cocoa powder, and then I just add a sweetener of choice to cut out some of the acidity, but there wasn't too much acidity here because I didn't add any diced tomatoes or anything like that. So I'm just going to give it a stir and let it simmer, and we are going to make this delicious dip. I got this from the farm stand. They were just basically giving them away. They were like 10 cents, and I found some of this organic mayo at Kroger for $1.60, so I went ahead and picked up a few of those. I have some sour cream that's on its last day or two here, and I'm just adding the dip with some mayo and sour cream into the sour cream dish just to save on some dishes here. And we're serving it with some chips. The kids really liked it with some bread. The horseradish was totally mild. We actually have horseradish growing back there in the yard that we didn't plant. It came with the house. That was like the only plant that came with the house besides those orange lilies out front. But I really enjoy horseradish. I think it's delicious, especially when it's in a mayo sauce. I have fond memories of my dad and I going to Arby's and getting that horsey sauce for our curly fries. Yes, but another story for another day. We have the buns here. I'm going to put them into the oven at 375 for around 20 minutes. And I'm just cutting some shapes on the top here. I did a W for my son and a D for my daughter just because they like that kind of thing, but totally not necessary. And then I put some butter on top of it for about 10 minutes and put it back into the oven for about 10 minutes is what I meant to say. I am exhausted. I'm so sorry for all of this stuttering, but you get the gist. And last but not least, we found some items in the freezer, and I feel like the freezer is an extension of my pantry because we do so much discount shopping and end up freezing a lot of this. So I feel like you can do it too if you have access to some discounts. But we had ham. This was our leftover Christmas ham. I vacuum sealed it because we certainly did not eat all of it. And I have some pinto beans from the farm down the road, if you saw the video the other day. And then I had one lone half onion left. So what I'm doing here is taking 2 cups of pinto beans and I'm sorting through these to look for rocks or any debris. Honestly, this farm is really great with this. I've never found a rock in there. I've found some sadder looking pinto beans, but that's out of their control. And what I'm doing is just sorting through, making sure there isn't any yuck in there. And then I am just rinsing my beans and letting them sit in water for a little bit of time. I'd say maybe about an hour and a half. And then I add it back to the mix here. I put the ham on the bottom. I did some onions and I did about, I'd say 6 cups of water here. I did the filtered water, but you can just use faucet water if you have good water. Our water ranks terrible on the EWG scale, but that is not cooking related. Anyways, I put this on high for about 10 hours, and that's how long it takes. The ham definitely lets those beans separate and they don't stay whole, but it was very delicious. And that is going to do it for this week's pantry challenge. I hope this gave you some inspiration to go in there, shop your pantry shelves, your leftovers in the fridge, and of course look in the freezer too. I love doing videos like this because this is truly how we cook. We cook on a budget and we utilize all of our food so nothing goes to waste. This is a perfect example of an emergency pantry challenge. We did not have the funds to go to the store. We didn't even have a car to go to the store. We are kind of stranded here, so extra prayers and good vibes sent our way would be really helpful around this time. But I will say we are so fortunate to be eating well on this pantry challenge journey. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everyone.